Why do so many retirees tell me they wish they'd moved sooner? Man, if I had a dollar for every time that somebody has sat across from me and gave me some kind of version of I wish I'd done this years ago, I could probably retire myself. It's one of the most common things I hear in this business, and honestly, it kind of used to surprise me. But now after several decades of working almost exclusively with retiree aged clients, whether it's second homes, active adult communities, downsizing to smaller homes, I've come to expect it and I understand it. So, why does this happen so often? I mean, why do people, who've just made this move, whether it's a small condo, a smaller home, maybe it's down south to a warmer climate, they immediately wish they had done it sooner. The answer is really not complicated, but it does kind of reveal a lot about how we think, how we avoid change, and why the right guide through this process can make all the difference. Hi, my name is Jay Otluski with Realty One Group here in the Fox Valley. I've worked for decades in real estate industry, almost the last 2 decades, almost exclusively with people of retiree age. So I'm definitely have the experience to help. But let's jump into the move. Why it almost feels better than the waiting did. So this is the pattern I see over and over again. The anticipation of moving is far more stressful than the actual move itself. I mean, people spend years, sometimes several, thinking about downsizing or relocating. They turn it over and over in their mind, worrying about the logistics, trying to picture all that could go wrong. And then they finally make that decision. And within a few months of the move, they're telling me how much lighter life feels, how much easier it is. And over and over again, how they can't believe they've waited so long to do it. So I think the waiting period, that time that we're thinking about it, is really where the anxiety lives. I mean, the actual new life, that smaller home, the fewer repairs, warm winters, maybe it's just getting closer to grandkids. That's when the relief kicks in. So once you're on the other side of that decision, you can finally see how much energy the deliberation itself was costing you. I got a couple of kind of top 5 things that I hear. First one, the house is full of memories. And this is usually the biggest one. It's not really about the square foot or the stairs it's about the idea of leaving a home where your kids grew up. All the weird, beautiful holidays that you had with family. It's really about where you've built a life. I mean, that's the emotional side, kind of disguised under that practical decision we're trying to make. And quite honestly, it needs to be treated, this way. 2, fear of the unknown. Whether it's a new city, a new neighborhood, a new type of home, maybe you're moving into a condo. That even when it's objectively a better fit for you, the unfamiliarity feels risky. And people worry about, hey, if I'm leaving the area, can I make friends again? Can I find new doctors? It's a completely normal fear, but it often keeps people stuck in a home that really no longer serves them. Number 3, the process feels overwhelming. This one I hear quite often. Sorting through decades of belongings, prepping a home for sale, researching new communities, trying to understand if you're doing a condo or an active adult community, what those HOA fees cover, you got to add in figuring out the tax and lifestyle difference of a new state if you're moving. It's a lot, and I understand that. I mean, many retirees simply, they just don't know where to start, or worse yet, they just don't start at all. 4, I've heard this, sometimes, we'll do it when the time feels right. I understand putting this off, but often there is no perfect moment that announces itself. It's not like, bang, it's the right time. It tends to only arrive in hindsight, and usually, months or years after the move probably should have already happened. And then finally, worrying about money. Even financially comfortable retirees often second guess whether, selling this family home and buying something else or relocating to a new state. Is that really a smart financial move? And again, this is a legitimate concern, and it's exactly the kind of question that benefits from sitting down and actually running the numbers instead of just thinking about it or guessing, what that means. So, couple things I've heard from people, what they've said after the fact. I guess I've never heard the negative, but the positive of I didn't realize how much upkeep that old house was wearing on me. The winters are much easier on my joints, and they're enjoying not having the cold and snow. And they wish they had, I hear this quite often, they wish they had somebody had walked them through this earlier instead of trying to figure it out on their own. So, that last one is the piece that I can speak directly to because that's where I can help you. I've been here doing this for decades. I understand what you'll be going through. And I want you to know that downsizing doesn't have to mean, losing anything. A smaller home, a condo, it's not a step down. It's really a step towards more freedom. Less yard work, lower utility bills. Often a lower price point brings, less costs, so you got more money for travel or healthcare, or simply just peace of mind. And many condo communities and single family are built on that active retiree lifestyle in mind. Walking paths, clubhouses, pools, golf courses, tennis courts, tennis courts. The neighbors are all in a similar stage of life. So for those of you considering a warmer weather state, that appeal usually isn't just about escaping shoveling snow or the cold, although that's a good reason to. It's about the body that actually feels better in a milder climate. As we age, that cold affects us. It's really a lifestyle that allows for more time outdoors, and often that comes with a more favorable cost of living or tax situation, depending upon where you're going. So finally, I want to leave you with this, that you don't have to figure this out alone. This is exactly where I come in. I've spent several decades working in real estate, and the last two specifically with retiree age clients, helping them think through the emotional side of leaving a long-time home, the practical side of downsizing, and the logistics of relocating, to a new area or state even. I've seen the hesitation, I've seen the fear of the unknown, and I've also seen what it looks like on the other side. Once that decision's made and the move is behind you, it's almost always a relief. And I want you to know, I don't see my job as to push anybody towards any specific decision if they're not ready. It's simply to help you understand your options. We can look at what your current home might be worth, what similar homes, or if you're doing a condo in a new area, might cost you, helping to decide what the timeline realistically looks like. And ultimately, I know a lot of the questions you should be asking that you might not even know to ask about. So again, there's never an obligation, never a cost to have this conversation. Whether you're seriously considering a move in a few months, or if you're just starting to wonder, could this actually work for us? That's the perfectly good reason to reach out. Sometimes the most valuable part of this process is simply talking it through with someone who's guided dozens, if not hundreds of people through this exact decision. So if you've ever turned this idea over and over in your mind, whether it's a condo, smaller home, warmer state, I'd love to help you explore what it could look like for you. Again, no pressure, no cost, just an honest conversation about your options. Because if the retirees I've worked with are any indication, the biggest regret isn't that you're moving, it's that you waited so long to do it in the first place. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to help.